we know what is air conditioning. We want to know what is air conditioning. Okay. So air conditioning means conditioning the air as per our requirement. So the way we want to condition air is as per our requirement is air conditioning. Now, what does it include actually? It includes number one, the maintaining of the dry bulb temperature of the air as per our requirement. Till now, you don't know about the dry bulb temperature, so you will come to know about it later on. Maintaining the humidity or wet bulb temperature of the air, that is the second condition. The third is removing dust, dirt, etc. from the air, that is, we want to clean the air. Then maintaining the purity of the air, that is removing bad smell, odor from the air, including CO2s, carbon monoxide. Means if there are some gases which are actually polluting the air, we have to remove them also. The next point is the distribution of the air, and the next is controlling noise level. So basically, you can see air conditioning comprises of the five things. The first one is the dry bulb temperature, also denoted as DBT. The second is the maintaining the humidity or the wet bulb temperature of the air, then removing dust, dirt, that is cleaning the air, maintaining the purity of the air, that is removing bad smell or the odor, distribution of the air, and controlling the noise level. So till all these five requirements are not met, then it is not air conditioning. All these five requirements should be met, then only it is air conditioning. Now let us proceed further. Now, when we talk about air conditioning, it is the air which is important in this particular case because the working substance is air actually in the air conditioning. Okay. Now, when we talk about this air is not air actually, it is the moist air. Okay. It is the moist air, and moist air is a mixture of two gases. One of these is dry air part, which itself is a mixture of a number of gases, and other is the water vapor, which may exist in a saturated or superheated state. Okay. Now, actually, it means if I am talking about air, then this air is equal to dry air plus water vapor. Okay. And when we write air only, it means we are calling it as we are considering the moist air part actually. So moist air is equal to dry air plus water vapor. And when we talk about the dry air basically comprises of different gases, for example, O2, N2, CO2, and many more other gases. But if you see, you know that O2 is somewhere around 21% and N2 is somewhere around 78%, whereas the other gases are in traces. Okay. And the remaining part is the water vapor. So water vapor I will be writing as small w dot v dot. So this is the composition of the air, dry air part and the water vapor. And you know that the dry air part is the major portion and the water vapor is very, very small. One might ask whether the moist air can be considered as a pure substance. But a pure substance is homogeneous and invariable in chemical composition. Thus, a homogeneous mixture of gases is a pure substance until its components do not change in phase. So basically, when we talk about moist air, it is not a pure substance, let me tell you. Okay, because what happens during air conditioning, you know, there is the condensation of the moisture or the evaporation of the moisture. So that means the composition of the air is actually changing. When I say air, it is the moist air I told you. Okay, I am talking about the moist air. So moist air being a mixture of dry air and water vapor, when it undergoes the air conditioning process of cooling or heating, its condensation or evaporation may occur. So it's not a pure substance, it's not homogeneous because of the invariable chemical composition. Dry air is a good example of such kind of a pure substance. So if we are considering only the dry air part, it is a pure substance. Water vapor is certainly a pure substance. water vapor. Now let us see it here, water vapor. But the moist air is not a pure substance in any process in which condensation or evaporation of the moisture occurs. In such a case, regular charts have to be developed to describe thermodynamic properties of the mixture under different conditions and compositions. Okay, I hope this is clear to you, because when we are talking about the moist air, its composition is varying actually over the period of the time when the condensation or evaporation is taking place. So for this particular case, we will have to develop the different charts or the regular charts to describe the thermodynamic properties of the mixture actually. If we are talking about the dry air part, okay, if I say dry air part, I can use the equation because I can consider that this dry air is behaving as a perfect gas. Similarly, if I talk about the water vapor, okay, water vapor, so I can also assume this as the perfect gas, and I can use the equation PV is equal to MRT for the water vapor, considering it as a perfect gas. But when they are mixed together, then it's not a ideal gas or a perfect gas. And in that particular case, we have to develop regular charts to describe the thermodynamic properties of the mixture under different conditions and compositions. Okay, because the composition of the vapor of the moisture will change, because the moisture content will vary actually. It is thus seen that the moisture consists of two parts, one comprising of the dry air considered as the fixed part because it's not going to vary in the mass actually, and other is solely water vapor considered as a variable part. So I can also write it as M is equal to MA plus MV. So MA stands for mass of dry air part. This is mass of water vapor, and this M stands for mass of air. When I say air, it is basically moist air. So I hope this is clear to you. The dry air is a mixture of number of permanent gases with appropriate composition. This I have told you. Both dry air and water vapor can be considered as perfect gases. I have already told you, since both exist in atmosphere at low pressure. Okay, hence perfect gas laws can be applied to them individually. This is what I told you in the previous slide. In addition, we can apply Gibbs-Dalton laws for non-reactive mixtures of gases to the dry air part only to obtain its properties as a single pure substance before establishing the properties of the moisture. So that means we can also apply Gibbs-Dalton's laws, and we will discuss about this later on actually. Now, what is Dalton's law of partial pressures actually? Now let us see. First of all, I can read the what is written here. Consider a homogeneous mixture of non-reacting ideal gases 1, 2, etc. at temperature T, pressure P, occupying volume V. Let the number of the moles of the individual gases be N1, N2, etc. and their respective masses be M1, M2, etc. Then we have for total number of moles N, the total mass M. So we can say the total number of moles N will be equal to N1 plus N2 and so on, and the total number of moles can be written as sigma Ni. So if there are N gases, then we have to add the number of the moles of all these gases, and if we have to calculate the mass, total mass, then we will have to add the masses of different gases M1, M2 and so on, and the total mass M will be equal to sigma Mi, where I stands for a particular gas actually. Okay, and I have told you these are existing at temperature T. All these gases are existing at temperature T. The total pressure is P actually. The total pressure is P, and each component or each gas is occupying a volume V actually. Okay, so what is shown here? Suppose there are only two gases. Let us consider it. Then if it is a closed container. This is a closed container here. Closed container. Now we have a pressure gauge here. It measures the temperature as P, and there is a thermometer which is measuring the temperature as T. The volume here is V. So basically, we have described the three properties: pressure, temperature, and volume. So volume of this container is V, which is fixed. Both the gases 1 and 2 are occupying this particular volume. The total pressure of both these gases is P, and the temperature of the mixture is T. Now let us see what we want to say. What is Dalton's law of partial pressure? Now what we do is we take the same container which is having volume V, which is having gas 1 only now, and its pressure is measured with the help of this pressure gauge. The temperature we are taking the same as that of the mixture of gases. So this temperature is same as that of the mixture of gases. But now what is happening? The pressure which is being measured is P1. And what is this P1? This P1 is the partial pressure of the gas 1. Then what we will do? We are taking the second gas separately, occupying the same volume V at the same temperature T, and its pressure is P2. Okay. So when we add both these, both these means we take the same container with the total volume V, and then the pressure which is shown in the pressure gauge at temperature T will be equal to P. So you can see it here. Yeah. So I would have shown this slide first. This is the first gas. This is the first gas. This is the second gas. And when we are adding it, what we are getting is we are getting this container having the same volume, but now the pressure is P, and this pressure is equal to P1 plus P2, where P1 and P2 are the partial pressure of the gases 1 and 2, and the temperature in this particular case is also T. Okay, so that is the Dalton's law of partial pressure, that the total pressure is equal to the sum of the partial pressure of the individual gases occupying the same volume at the same temperature actually. So let us read what is written here. If we have to measure the pressures exerted by the individual gases, they would be found to be P1 and P2, etc., which is less than the total pressure P of the mixture of the gases. These are referred to as the partial pressures. Considering the mixture and each component of gas exists separately at temperature T and volume V, we have a binary gas mixture. So for the mixture, we can write the equation PV is equal to nRT, and from here we can calculate the number of the moles N, which is equal to PV by RT. Similarly, if I take the gas number 1, I can write that P1V is equal to nRT1. So from here, the number of moles N1 is equal to P1V divided by RT. Similarly, N2 is equal to P2V2 by RT. And then we can calculate the total number of the moles, which is given by N is equal to N1 plus N2. So what you can do is you can put the values of N1 as this one, N2 as this one, and for N, you can use this particular equation, or rather this particular equation. So you can see there is certainly some parameters which are common. What are those common parameters? It is volume, it is R, and it is V. Sorry, it is T. So these parameters will be cancelled out, and we are left with P is equal to P1 plus P2, which means the total pressure P is equal to sum of the partial pressure of the two gases. If there are more number of gases, then we can replace P by P is equal to sigma Pi, where I is the number of the gas. Okay, I hope this is clear. So thus for a mixture of ideal gases, the total pressure P is equal to the sum of partial pressures. This is known as Dalton's law of partial pressures. Now let us talk about the psychrometric properties. Before I go to the psychrometric properties, I would like to know one important thing from you, and that is actually what is the state of the air, what is the state of the moisture in the air actually. So as I told you, okay, one more thing I would like to tell you here. See, when I have told you this Dalton's law of partial pressure, I can always write that P total is equal to P of the drier part plus P of the water vapor. So actually, I can say that P is equal to PA plus PV. And what is this P? This P is the atmospheric pressure. This PA is the partial pressure of dry air part, and, and this PV is partial pressure of water vapor. Now my question to you is that what could be the partial pressure of the water vapor in the air? So my question is, what is the value of the partial pressure of water vapor in the air? Actually, if you will see here, what I have shown here is it is atmospheric pressure. So it means the partial pressure of the drier part and the partial pressure of the water vapor is actually equal to 760 millimeter of mercury column, which is also equal to 1.01325 bar. So this is the value of the atmospheric pressure. Now my question is, what is the value of the partial pressure of the water vapor? Means, because you know that this water vapor, can you answer that what could be the amount of the mass of the water vapor in 1 kg of the dry air? I think you may not be knowing, so I would tell you that the mass of the water vapor is equal to somewhere around 20 to 30 grams per kg of dry air. So that means 1000 grams of dry air will contain about 20 to 30 grams of the water vapor or moisture. So it means when it's a mixture of two gases and the mass of one of the gases is very small, in that particular case, what will happen? That the pressure exerted by the water vapor will be very, very less. Now, if I consider that the temperature is say 35 degrees Celsius, the atmospheric temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, and the partial pressure of the water vapor is very, very low. Let us uh, say 0.05 bar. So do you know what is the value of the saturation temperature of the steam corresponding to this particular pressure? It would be very low. I don't know what would be the exact value, but I can tell you that the saturation temperature here would be very, very low. Very low. Say 20 degrees Celsius. I am taking an example only. Okay. So corresponding to a pressure of 0.05 bar, the saturation temperature could be around 20 degrees Celsius. Okay. So what is the state of the air, moisture in the air actually? See, you can see the temperature of the air water vapor mixture is 35 degrees Celsius, whereas the water saturation temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. So it means the water vapor or the steam is existing in the superheated state actually. Okay, it is in the superheated state. Okay, so if this is clear, let us proceed to the psychrometric properties part. A mixture of two substances require three properties to completely define its thermodynamic state, unlike as a pure substance which require only two properties. So for the mixture we will be requiring three properties, whereas if it is not a mixture, if it is a pure substance, we require only two properties. For example, you know that if you have to plot a point on say PV diagram for air, you will be needing only two properties. One is the pressure and other is the volume, and it is sufficient to describe the state of the air. But if it is a mixture of two gases, then you need three properties to completely define the thermodynamic state of the mixture actually. So one of the three properties can be composition. Okay, it could be composition also. The properties of the moist air are known as psychrometric properties, and The subject which deals with the behavior of the moist air is known as psychrometry. So that is why the name of the chapter is psychrometric properties of the air. So psychrometry is the branch of the science which deals with the properties of the moist air. This actually I have already told you, so I will not go into this particular slide. For defining and calculating the relevant psychrometric properties, we can consider a certain volume V, which is the volume of the moist air, P is the pressure, T is the temperature or the dry bulb temperature, Ma is the mass of the dry air, Mv is the mass of the moist air. We can also call it as M actually. Okay, so Mv or M will be one and the same thing. So mass of the moist air is Mv or M. So you can see we have taken a sample here. The sample is comprising of the dry air part and the water vapor part. Mv here is not the moist air, it is actually the mass of water vapor, and M is the mass of moist air. Okay, so Mv is the mass of the water vapor, specific volume of the water vapor is Vv, and the specific volume of the dry air part is Va. And this shows the total volume V. Total volume V is nothing but this will be equal to the dry air volume as well as equal to the water vapor volume. M, this mass is nothing but this is equal to Ma plus Mv. And if I say pressure, this pressure is the barometric pressure P, which is equal to Pa plus Pv. And temperature T, this is constant and this is actually the dry bulb temperature. Now I will go to the definition of the dry bulb temperature. Now what is dry bulb temperature? Dry bulb temperature is the temperature recorded by a thermometer whose bulb portion is not affected by the direct radiations and moisture. So suppose we have a thermometer like I am showing here. So this is the bulb portion. Okay. So if this bulb portion, this bulb portion is not affected by the moisture and the direct radiations, then whatever is the temperature that is being measured here, let us say this is the temperature T, then this temperature is known as the dry bulb temperature. So basically direct radiation means it is not directly kept in the sunlight actually. Okay, when it is directly kept into the sunlight, then the temperature will be different. So basically we are keeping this thermometer in the shade actually. So when it is in the shade, the diffuse radiations can come, but direct radiations will not come. So whatever will be the temperature measured by the thermometer, that will be known as the dry bulb temperature. So basically there is no moisture here, no moisture. There is no moisture. The next is the specific humidity or humidity ratio. Specific humidity or humidity ratio, also known as humidity content, humidity content. Okay, and it is denoted by W. And there is one more name, I am forgetting that. Specific humidity, humidity ratio, humidity content, uh, and another name is absolute humidity. Absolute humidity. So basically, these four names, absolute humidity, specific humidity, humidity ratio, and humidity content, they are one and the same thing, and they are denoted here by capital letter W or small letter W here. Okay. So specific or absolute humidity or humidity ratio or moisture content. Okay, it's not humidity content, it's the moisture content, as it is variously denoted by the symbol W, is defined as the ratio of mass of water vapor to the mass of dry air in a given volume of the mixture. So basically what is the definition, it is the mass of the water vapor mv divided by mass of the dry air part. So when we calculate the mass of the water vapor, it is given by total volume of the sample, as I have shown you the sample, total volume of the sample divided by the specific volume of the water vapor divided by the volume, total volume divided by the specific volume of the air. So it means it is equal to va by vv, which also can be written as rho v by rho a, where rho is the density of the water vapor divided by density of the dry air part. So it is written here also that the subscript A and V refer to the dry air and the water vapor respectively. So you should always remember this particular definition: W is equal to mv by ma. This is the important equation. Now let us give you an example. The example which I am taking here is, suppose I have the air which contains say 2 kg. It is 2 kg of the air, and the water vapor is, let us say, zero point 0.2 kgs. Then what is the value of W? Now W is actually given by mv by ma. So it will be equal to mv divided by, now what is the value of ma? I know that m is equal to ma plus mv. So it means the value of ma will be equal to m minus mv, and it will come out to be 1.8 kg. So here it can be written as m minus mv, and the value will be equal to zero point 0.2 divided by 1.8. Now what is the unit of w actually? So you will say that it is the ratio of the masses. Yes, it is the ratio of the masses, but we have to give it a unit, and that unit is actually kgs of water vapor divided by kgs of dry air. Okay, dry air I am writing by d dot a dot. So this is the value of the dry air. now now suppose this air is at a particular state. Okay, dry air as well as the water vapor, they are at a particular state. I told you, when there is no phase change, both will be behaving as a perfect gas, so I can apply the perfect gas laws to it. So what I am doing, I am writing this particular equation for the perfect gas for the air: pa into v is equal to ma into r bar divided by ma into t. Now actually this r bar divided by ma, this is nothing but this is the characteristic gas constant, capital R, whereas r bar is the universal gas constant. So when we divide the universal gas constant by ma is the molecular mass of the air, so we are dividing it by that. So then this gives us the value of characteristic gas constant, which is given here by R. Similarly, I can apply this particular equation by I can apply this particular equation for the water vapor also. So I will write this particular equation now. And once again, if I have to calculate the characteristic gas constant for the water vapor, so I can write it as R is the mass of the R is the universal gas constant, whereas mv is the mass of the molecular mass of the water vapor. So now in the next case, what I am doing is I am dividing these two equations. If I say this is equation number 1, and if it is equation number 2, so what I am doing is I am dividing equation number 2 by equation number 1. So when I will divide equation number 2 by equation number 1, what will I get? I will get W is equal to, you can see it, rather than W, I will write that PV into V divided by PA into V is equal to MV R bar divided by MA MV into T divided by MA R bar divided by MA into T. So this value V and V cancels out, R bar by R bar cancels out, temperature and temperature cancels out, and we are left with this term. You see it here. This is mv by ma, and you know that this mv by ma is what? This is the specific humidity. So W will be equal to, now you see it here, W will be equal to mv into PV divided by MA into PA, and this is the value of the molecular mass of the water vapor, and this is the molecular mass of the air. Air. So here you can see that it comes out to be 0.622 into PV divided by PA. So this is the value of the specific humidity. And as I told you, the units of W are kg of water vapor per kg of dry air. So here you can see what they have done. It has been multiplied by 1000. So when we multiply it by 1000, the value comes out to be 622 PV by PA grams of water vapor per kg of dry air, because the mass of the water vapor is very small. But generally we don't use this particular equation. We will use the equation that W is equal to 0.622 PV by PA, and it is kg of water vapor divided by kg of dry air. So that is the unit of the specific humidity. I told you from the Dalton's law of partial pressure, the total pressure is given by PA plus PV. So what I can do is I can calculate the value of this PA from this particular equation, and I can change here in the denominator. So W comes out to be 0.622 PV upon P minus PV. So you can see W is basically depending upon PV here, and here also it is depending upon PV, because this is the total pressure. This is 760 mm of the mercury column. So this is going to remain constant. So we can say that W is a function of PV only, partial pressure of the water vapor. Specific humidity is a function of the partial pressure of the water vapor only. Accordingly, if there is no change in the specific humidity or the moisture content of the air, the partial pressure of the water vapor also does not change. It may be noted, since PV is very small and P, which is the barometric pressure, is constant, the denominator in equations remains more or less constant. That is, PA is equal to P minus PV, which can be approximated as P. So that means I can always say that W can be written as 0.622 PV divided by, it was actually P minus PV, and because this value is very small, I can say that it is equal to 0.622 PV divided by P. I have neglected the partial pressure of water vapor in the denominator. So that means W is approximately a linear function of PV. That is what is written here in this particular line. Now let us focus a little bit on the specific humidity. I said that W is given by mv by ma. So it means, suppose I say that the mass of the air, dry air part, is 1 kg. Then what is the value of mv? So from this equation, if you will see that if this value comes out to be 1 kg, if I am taking 1 kg of the dry air part, then the value of the mass of the water vapor is equal to W. So what is the total mass of the air? M will be equal to Ma plus Mv, and this value is equal to 1 plus W. So this is the total mass of the air. Okay. So total mass of this volume of moist air is 1 plus W kg. This is what I have explained you here in this particular way. So you can see the specific humidity is not a mass fraction of the water vapor, which would have been W upon 1 plus W, but a ratio of dry air in a certain volume of the mixture. Now let us talk about the dew point temperature. So till now we have talked about, number one, the dry bulb temperature, and the second thing we have talked about the specific humidity, and third we are going to discuss about the dew point temperature. This is the third property. Now when, as I told you, that the air is at a temperature of T, and this is the dry bulb temperature. Okay, so you can see here in the graph, this temperature is T. This is the TS diagram actually, and this is PV. This pressure is PV. I can show it. This is the PV, partial pressure of the water vapor, and this is the temperature at saturation. This is the saturation. Now suppose the moisture is at this particular point. So it is in the superheated state, as you can see from the TES diagram. So it is the superheated state. So if I cool this at the constant partial pressure, means I follow this particular line, what will happen? The moment the air water mixture reaches at this particular point, what will happen? The first drop of the moisture will be condensed out. Okay, first drop of the moisture will be condensed out, and the temperature at which this moisture will condense out is known as the dew point temperature. Okay, so let us read what is written here. The water vapor existing at temperature T of the mixture and the partial pressure PV of the water vapor in the mixture is normally in a superheated state. As I told you, this is the superheated state. Moist air containing moisture in such a state is considered as unsaturated air. Now, what is this unsaturated air? Unsaturated air means we can define two terms actually for the air. One is the saturated air and other is the unsaturated air. So दो टर्म्स हैं, एक है सैचुरेटेड एयर और दूसरी है अनसैचुरेटेड एयर. So what is the difference between the two? When I say unsaturated air, it means it can hold more amount of the moisture. Okay, it can hold more amount of the moisture. As you can see here, I can add in a superheated state, I can add more of the moisture so that uh, the air becomes saturated. Means a particular when I will add moisture to the unsaturated air, a condition will come when no more moisture can be added to it. When no more moisture can be added to the air, then it will become saturated with the moisture actually. So that condition can also exist, but right now we are talking about the unsaturated air. So unsaturated air has the holding capacity, means it can have more amount of the moisture in it. Okay, but in this particular case, for the timing, you consider it as unsaturated air. Now, if sample of such unsaturated moist air containing superheated water vapor is cooled at constant pressure, the mixture will eventually reach the saturation temperature TD of the water vapor corresponding to its partial pressure PV, at which the first drop of the dew will be formed. That is, the water vapor in the mixture will start condensing. So that is what I told you. This is the superheated moisture, and when we are cooling it at the constant pressure PV, this particular point will be reached and we are able to see the first drop coming out from the water vapor. So this temperature TD, which is the saturation temperature corresponding to the partial pressure of the water vapor, is known as the dew point temperature. So TD is the dew point temperature, and it is nothing but it is actually the saturation temperature corresponding to PV, partial pressure of the water vapor. So it is the dew point temperature. So whenever you have to calculate the dew point temperature, you can see it from the steam table. If you know the temperature, if you know the pressure of the partial pressure of the water vapor, you can go to the steam table, see the corresponding saturation temperature, and it will tell you the dew point temperature. So once again here, I am telling you that if you will go to the steam tables, from the steam tables, what you have to do, you have to choose a particular partial pressure of the water vapor, and whatever is the saturation temperature seen from the steam tables, that saturation temperature is known as the dew point temperature. Okay, this temperature TD is called the dew point temperature, also known as DPT. The temperature to which the moist air must be cooled at constant pressure before condensation of the moisture take place is known as dew point temperature. So this is the condition actually. What is written here? The temperature to which moist air must be cooled at constant pressure. But which is this constant pressure? This constant pressure is actually PV. This is partial pressure of the water vapor. So constant pressure before condensation of the moisture takes place. So condensation should not occur actually. This is the condition. But it is about to start. That temperature is actually the dew point temperature. Moisture can be removed from humid air by bringing the air in contact with a cold surface or a cooling coil whose temperature is below its dew point temperature. So it means, suppose we have a coil here and the temperature of this coil is, let us say, 7 degrees Celsius, whereas the dew point temperature of the air, let us say, is 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, I'm just taking an example. So when the air, suppose air is passed over this coil, the air is at, let us say, 35 degrees Celsius. When it will be passing through this coil, in which there is some refrigerant which is flowing at 7 degrees Celsius, so what will happen? The moment the air will reach at 20 degrees Celsius, the condensation will start. The moment the temperature will be 19.99, the condensation will start. So basically 20 degrees Celsius is the dew point temperature. Okay. During the process of cooling, the partial pressure PV of the water vapor and specific humidity W remains constant until the vapor starts condensing. So this is once again a condition, हमें जो है स्पेसिफिक ह्यूमिडिटी को टच नहीं करना, पार्शियल प्रेशर ऑफ वाटर वेपर को टच नहीं करना, हम नहीं चाहते कि उसमें से कोई भी ड्रॉप बाहर निकले. Okay, so only then it is known as the dew point temperature. It can be seen that the dew point temperature can be found by knowing this from the steam table, the saturation temperature at the partial pressure of the water vapor. This I have already told you. Now let us take an example. Mm, okay. In a dew point apparatus, a metal beaker is cooled by gradually adding ice water to water initially at room temperature. The moisture from the room air begins to condense on the beaker when its temperature is 12.8 degrees Celsius. So it means this is the value of the dew point temperature, dpt or td. One and the same thing. The barometric pressure is 1.01325 bar. So this is P, which is equal to PA plus PV, and this value is given as 1.01325 bar. Find the partial pressure of the water vapor in the room air and parts by mass of water vapor in the room air. So I think the question is clear to you. We are given with two things, TD and the total pressure. So what we can do is we can go to the steam tables and corresponding to 12.8 degrees Celsius, because it is the value of TD. Okay, dew point temperature. Dew point temperature. I can find the value of, I can read the value of the PB, which is coming out to be 1.479 kilonewton per meter square. So it is basically in kilopascals. So what is the partial pressure of the dry air part? Now, as I told you that P is equal to PA plus PV. So I want to know what is the value of PA. So PA will be equal to, now this value is in pascals. This also is in pascals. So this is the 99846 pascals. So this is the partial pressure of the dry air part. Now we have to calculate the specific humidity. Specific humidity is given by the formula mv by ma and also by 0.622 pv by pa. So all the values are known to us. So I can calculate, it is coming out to be 0.009214 kg of water vapor divided by per kg of dry air. Okay, so it means how much is the amount of the water vapor? You can see it is in kgs actually. So it is hardly, if you multiply by 1000, so it comes out to be 9.214 grams of water vapor per kg of dry air. Okay, next is parts of mass of water vapor. So what is the part of the mass of the water vapor? So it is equal to mv by m. So mv by m is given by this formula. This you can calculate from the equation of W. W is given by mv by m a. So ma can be written as m minus mv. So from this equation, if you can calculate the value of mv by m, and this comes out to be W over 1 plus W. So you will get this particular value, this much kgs of water vapor per kg of mixture. Okay, so I will take one more definition. Degree of saturation. Now see, degree of saturation is also very easy. This is the fourth definition actually. See, we were talking about this is the unsaturated air condition. Unsaturated air. This is superheated water vapor in unsaturated air. Now, suppose uh, if at the same temperature, this is dry bulb temperature. This is dry bulb temperature. At the same temperature, in the given mixture, if we are adding the moisture, see, this was the given mixture. Here, the mass of the water vapor is mv, mass of the dry air is ma, total volume is v, the temperature is t, and the total pressure is p. Okay, so if I now I am saying that this is unsaturated air, it can hold more of the moisture. So what we are doing, we are keeping the temperature, dry bulb temperature as constant, and we are adding the moisture, more amount of the moisture to it. When we add more amount of the moisture to the air, what will happen to the partial pressure of the water vapor? The partial pressure of the water vapor will start increasing, and when it becomes, it reaches at this particular point, this is actually equal to the ps. So partial pressure of the water vapor changes to ps. Ps means this is the partial pressure of the water vapor corresponding to dry bulb temperature. Okay, so now we have defined two things. One is uh, you have we have talked about td, and corresponding to td we have partial pressure of the water vapor, and this is for the condition unsaturated unsaturated air. Whereas if we keep on adding the moisture to this unsaturated air, what will happen to the partial pressure of the water vapor? It will keep on increasing, and ultimately at saturated condition, because at this particular point, if you will add any more moisture, it will condense. So the air has now become saturated at the same dry bulb temperature. So the partial pressure of the water vapor has now increased from PV to PS when it has become saturated. So basically PS is the partial pressure of the water vapor corresponding to the dry bulb temperature, which is T here. Okay. One more thing I will tell you is, which I have not told you, is when we talk about the dry bulb temperature, we represent it by small t. When we talk about the dew point temperature, we represent it by small TD. So these two nomenclatures are used for dry bulb temperature and dew point temperature. Or if it is written as capital T also, then also it is dew point temperature. So let us see. Uh, yes, this is what I wanted to show you. Now, when the air has got saturated, so PV is now actually increased to PS. So what is the value of WS? WS is the uh, specific humidity at saturation when the air has become saturated. So that now it is equal to 0.622 into PS divided by P minus PS, because this PS is nothing but this is the partial pressure of the water vapor at saturation condition, and in the denominator it is now P minus PS. So once again, here we have calculated the value of WS, which is the specific humidity for the saturated air. And what is degree of saturation? Now, what is degree of saturation? Degree of saturation is denoted by mu here, and mu is the ratio of the specific humidity of the unsaturated air divided by specific humidity of the saturated air. So we get this particular expression here: PV by PS, 1 minus PS over P divided by 1 minus PV over P. This is what we get. This is the expression for the degree of saturation, and it is the measure of the capacity of the air to absorb moisture. So what is it? It is the measure of the capacity of air to absorb moisture. So I hope this is clear. So I will end my lecture here. Okay. If you have any questions, you can ask.